You're listening to Commissioning Conversations, the podcast brought to you by Broadcast Intelligence. Hi, and welcome to Commissioning Conversations. I'm Heather Fallon.
And I'm Alice Redmond, and we are both reporters and researchers for the Commissioner Index.
This week, we'll be discussing all the latest in commissioning news, including the BBC new hires and Channel 4 privatisation.
And later, I'll be joined by our subscribers, Nevision, to talk about how they use CI.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, Heather. So there is, as usual, a bumper podcast this week. So I think we should start with our green lights of the week, because we didn't do that last week, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, there has been a really great week of green lights, and it was another struggle. But I've gone with a new BBC factual commission from Mindhouse, which is currently under the working title Joe Wicks, Mental Health, My Family and Me. So lots to unpack. The show's talking about not only Joe Wicks's kind of rise to fame and becoming a household name over the last year, but it also takes a look behind the scenes and looks into his own personal struggles with mental health, which is a big topic of discussion at the moment in TV, how he stays positive. And he's like the king of positivity. If you've ever watched one of his workout videos, he is almost irritatingly happy all of the time. But I listened to his Desert Island disc, must have been a couple of months ago now, and he talked really movingly about his dad's battle with a heroin addiction. His mom also has mental health problems, and to then see someone be so positive is just really nice to see, and I think it'll provide for a really interesting story. Louis Theroux is exec producing it, and he loves Joe Wicks. So I just think it's really nice to see their relationship blossom.
Yeah, it's a great pair. And also, I agree with you. I think Joe Wicks is super inspiring, and I love Lean in 15. The food more than the workouts.
Yeah, he's got some solid recipes.
Yeah, I think what's really positive at the moment is just this continued trend of celebrities getting commissioned to make documentaries about their personal struggles. We're seeing it across loads of channels. Like, I'm just adding a commission to the Programme Index, which is about Gemma Collins and self-harm and her struggles with that. And I think, we're in such a positive place where just talking about things, celebrities talking about things, is opening up just a national conversation, and, hopefully will help a lot of people, which I think is really lovely.
It's great to see TV and PSBs especially kind of being the frontier for that, considering how much of a rough year it has been. And there has been a lot of concern about people's mental health over the last year. It's really good to see that TV is actively trying to tackle that by showing us more of these docs. And yeah, if we could all have a little ounce of Joe Wicks' positivity, that would be lovely.
Yeah, so my green light of the week was a tie, and not for any interesting reasons. Firstly, super interested in Channel 4's The Love Trap, which was commissioned as part of its global format fund. It sounds a bit like HBO Max's F-Boy Island, which if you listen to or watch our LinkedIn videos that we do on a Friday, we were obsessed with the idea of this when it came out.
We loved it.
So yeah, this is like a twist on that, almost like it's female contestants, where half of them are in there to win love and half of them are in there to win the money. And I think it's such a great twist on like things like Love Island, because I think I am getting quite cynical with Love Island when they're being like, oh, I love you, and sorry to put on a stereotypical Love Island voice, I apologize, but they're saying they're looking for love, but like, let's be real, it's less love and it's more actually 20 million Instagram followers that they are looking for, which I don't think is a bad thing, by the way. I want to stress this. I think get in there, make that money. But yeah, let's be real, like Love Island isn't there for love anymore, it's there for fame. And I don't think there's any shame in that, but I think having something that kind of plays on that is really interesting.
Yeah, because I always forget when Love Island is on that in the last episode, I don't know if they even still have it, but the winners can either take all the cash or they split it with their partner. But you never even think about that now. when
Yeah.
they're on Love Island, because you get so much out of it from Instagram deals and like fashion partnerships that I think you get enough anyway. You don't need
Yeah,
to
I think
worry
the
about the
cash
cash twist.
cash is secondary for sure. Yeah, and then second, I have a second one that I just want to shout out as a Finsbury Park gal. I am just very excited that Amazon's All or Nothing is coming to Arsenal. I'm not necessarily the biggest football fan, but the events of the past few weeks with the Euros has got me in the football spirit, and it's really fun when things get filmed like 5 minutes down the road from you. So I'm kind of just gassed about that, really.
Yeah, well, I watched the Tottenham series and I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I just like being a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I love a good doc, and I'm hoping that Gunnosaurus gets his own storyline.
He
I
deserves it.
I run around the stadium quite a lot, and it's quite fun when you can see him, the mascot.
Good for you, Gunnosaurus.
I think he was out encouraging people to get their COVID jabs as well. So, all around icon.
What a guy. So, in commissioning news in the past week, the BBC has announced Shane Allen's replacement, which is former Channel 4 comedy commission John Petrie. And he kind of snuck up on us. The pool of potential replacements for Shane Allen was really small, and a couple of the names that were flying around were like Fiona McDermott from Channel 4 and Chris Sussman from Netflix. And then John Petrie appeared, and he's a really interesting guy. He was the comedy chief at Broken Bones most recently, and he'll take up the new post at the end of August, start of September.
And he was part of People Just Do Nothing. He was the exec producer, I'm pretty sure. I'm doing this from memory, not from notes, but yes. And, that series is just amazingly funny.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about John. Seems like he's been behind a lot of really interesting shows at Channel 4. He was around with Friday Night Dinner. So yeah, it's a really exciting replacement. And until then, Tanya Qureshi is still interim head and is supporting Kate Phillips on editorial decisions until he takes up his post. But we'll be around as always with profile updates and any green lights that he eventually commissions. So we'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah, for sure. And didn't BBC Drama also announce a new commissioner?
They did. So there's an assistant commissioning position, which is being held by Alice Ramsey. So she's got quite an interesting role because she's going to work across the BBC writers' room and the drama commissioning side of things. So there's a big focus on kind of bringing up new talent and working in the writers' room, and then potentially pairing new writing talent with indie. So I think that's a really exciting thing to look at. And I was listening to a talk that Tanya Qureshi did the other day, and both across drama and comedy, there's such a focus on new British talent and harnessing local talent and making them then rise, and they can then potentially move over onto Netflix or bigger ponds.
Yeah, that's so promising, and like such a good initiative to have in place, and such good roles and people to have in place. And also kind of, speaking on that, developing new talent for them to be able to go to Netflix and, the PSB remit. I think we would be wasting an opportunity not to shout out something that is, obviously going to affect commissioning. It's going to affect broadcasting. It's going to affect the PSB landscape. And that is the privatisation of Channel 4 and the kind of DCMS hearing about that.
Yeah. So broadcasters obviously unveiled this not for sale campaign, and we won't go on about it too much on the podcast, but on broadcast website, we've outlined why broadcast is taking that position. And if you want to add your back into the campaign, you can read all about that on broadcastnow.co.uk.
Yeah, and let's hope that, the government sees sense and realizes that, Channel 4 needs to stay a PSB, because I think it is a valuable asset.
Absolutely.
But now on to cheerier things in the government sale of a PSB. Last week, I spoke with Neil Zeiger at Nevision about CI.
When we started the company, which is about 8 years ago now, I think, 2013, 14, we began life as a kind of a gap funding, deficit funding business. That very rapidly changed into a production business, We all, the two of my other partner, Tim Buxton, was in development all his career, development and producing. I've been a producer all my career. So it was natural that we kind of evolved into a production company as well. That was not the intention from the beginning, but it's the way that it went. So what we've done over the last few years is, through projects that we initially got involved in, we broadened our board. Nigel Pickard came on as creative director of family and kids, because Nigel, at the time when we first met him, I mean, we've known him for years, but as Nevision, when we first met him, he was at Zodiac. So we became involved in a series that he created called Flugels. And that subsequently became a Nevision production, and Nigel now has a few very active family shows in development. Then subsequently again, we became involved in a documentary film on Manolo Blahnik, and Anne Morrison was, at the time, she was an executive producer on that show. So through that, we got to know Anne really well, and Anne then came on as creative director of Factual and Factual Entertainment. And so Anne now sits on our board, and she kind of has a number of entertainment shows already commissioned with. She got 2 shows commissioned with ITV. So she looks after that side of the business. I kind of call myself creative director. I never use that title. I'm just producer, looking at scripted. And then 2 years ago, 2019, it's really difficult because 2020 just kind of disappeared. But so when things happened, I lose that year, which is nuts. We invested in 3 amazing producers in Scandinavia who began a production company called Nevision Productions, which is, in effect, it's our sister company in Scandinavia. And they've been, between them, they've been responsible for shows like Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Wallander in Sweden, Wallander in the UK. So they have tremendous track record in Scandinavia. So we work very closely with them now as well. And we're co-producing a couple of projects with them from our side, and co-producing one with them from their side. So we've kind of expanded and broadened out, and it's really interesting. It's an exciting time at the moment, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like there's just so much going on. So how does Commissioner Index help you and your team?
It was one of those things when I first came across it, or it was first sent to me, as it was the ability to know who's in what seat in which company. I mean, it's, all the, well, not all, but some of the channels and some of the networks do their kind of what they used to do was road trips, and now they do kind of Zoom kind of sessions where they can tell you what they're looking for. But because there's so many networks now, there's so many platforms, without that, I think it would be very difficult, without employing somebody, to just dig around and find out who's at what company, because everybody moves around at such speed. The latest news, the reports on how best to work with individual companies, I just think it's been phenomenally useful. It's a really vital research tool, and we all use it at Nevision and at Nevis as well, because they find it really useful as well. Just because otherwise, it's only through you work with somebody or you know somebody who's the company, and then you hear word of mouth that somebody's moved somewhere else, or you're reading off from C21. But that's very useful, but also the reports are really useful that you push out. They make it, we've got information at our fingertips that we have to really dig around for otherwise.
Yeah, I saw that you downloaded our latest report, and I wanted to ask kind of what your thoughts were on that. Did you enjoy it? Did you find it useful?
I haven't read it yet.
We could talk about the one before if you've read that, or any of the ones. I've caught you out.
No, you haven't caught me out, but it's just there's so much going on right now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like the ones of dealing with streamers and dealing with how you deal with Amazon, how you deal with HBO. It's just very useful because all these networks are so different and they all operate differently. And it's what you give us through your reports is an insight into the way the companies work. and the best way to approach them. And I found it particularly useful with North America, for example, because what we're quite, we're quite busy, but we're a small company. We're not a big independent company. There's three of us sit in an office. When we used to sit in an office, there were three of us sitting in an office all the time. Everybody else was tended to work from home and occasionally come into the office. So we're quite a small company. So to reach out to the US and to get projects into the right people at the networks in the United States is difficult. Americans like to talk to Americans. They like to be introduced to people. So just getting an email or a telephone call from a random producer in the UK isn't going to cut it. So it's helped me gain intelligence in the way that America works. And that's been quite vital for me, I think.
Nice. And you also attended our true crime event. So I wanted to also pick your brain on how you found that. And I think you had a one-to-one as well. Was that useful?
I did. That was really useful because what was interesting for me with that was that true crime there's different ways of approaching true crime. From a drama point of view and a drama producer's point of view, it's telling stories which are real. The other perspective that was talked about a lot on that show is taking real people in real situations and having a perspective on something that you haven't had before. Maybe a crime that you knew had happened, you knew it had occurred, it was maybe a few years old, but a show that brings you a fresh perspective onto it. I thought that was really useful. And I loved talking to Dan. That was just brilliant. Because that was what was easy about that was it was as if, everybody else had gone. And it was much more relaxed. It was a cup of coffee, and it was the only thing I found with it was the 10 minutes went like that. It's, suddenly you're just getting into your stride and we're just having a really good chat, and then somebody else appears on the screen. You think, oh, hello, all right, I got to go now. I suppose from her perspective, that's important because otherwise you just kind of rattle on about all kinds of stuff. But I found that the ability to have that one-to-one was good because it means I can now go back to her and make I can email her, I can make a direct approach, and at least we've had a face-to-face meeting. So the one-to-ones, I think, are really useful.
That's really good to hear. And obviously you work a lot internationally, and we've started to expand internationally. And I wondered if you see that helping your business in any way in the future?
I do see that very much. I think a lot of our business is international. I suppose it's the nature of the way the business is developing. Then so many platforms where you're still looking for a British perspective on a story, but nevertheless one that will appeal internationally. I think it means, I'm not certain it means, but I think it means that when we're looking for things that we will take to the BBC, to ITV, to Channel 4, they are shows that are completely targeted at a kind of UK audience, because I think to a certain extent that's the way that our terrestrial broadcasters are going to deal with the market as it is now. And other shows we know are very international in nature, they're very high budget, so we have to look for partners elsewhere. So it's great for us to have a sister company that's based in Scandinavia, because we get a European perspective from that, because they're connected not just to their own Scandinavian company, but into France, into Germany. That's very useful for us. But anything that helps access into the world outside the UK is helpful. So yeah, I think it would be very helpful.
Nice. And I wondered if you had made any new relationships with commissioners or got any green lights even from using the Commissioner Index at all?
No, I've got to be honest and say no. If I had, I would genuinely, I would say.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, relationships with new commissioners it's difficult. That's any new relationships we have invariably come through people in our organisation that are connected with somebody else that knows somebody else, and it's connected that way. And I think to a certain extent that is, well, having said that, Diana, who I had a one-to-one with. That's a new relationship for me that I wouldn't have made any other way. So one-to-ones, I think, are really useful in these conferences that you do and that you set up.
Good, glad to hear it. Yeah. And kind of, if you were to recommend us to someone in the industry, kind of what would you say about it, and kind of why would you say that if you were giving us a glowing recommendation?
Because one of the biggest, I mean, the core, if I'm talking from a drama perspective, the core issue is getting a commission. It isn't finding the ideas. There's lots of ideas. We've got writer relationships. We've got really good relationships with writers. We've got really good relationships with directors. That's the kind of partly the bread and butter of what you do as a producer. The core issue is always a commission, because however great our idea is, if we can't get a commission, it's worth zero. So it's that is the key. And that's the thing that you help with. Anything that helps us access commissioners and helps us know how to approach a specific commissioner and know that somebody's moved from one place to another, because they do move remarkably quickly, is really useful. So for me, the main benefit of the broadcast intelligence tool is exactly that. It helps access, and it helps us know what's going on in the rest of the world. It's really easy to be isolated, particularly, I don't know, I've been around in this business for a while, but I always felt we're very isolated in the UK because we're an island and we're a self-contained kind of market. Vital that we know what's going on in the rest of the world. Absolutely vital, particularly these days. So I think that's why I have no hesitation in recommending you to anybody.
Thanks. And are there any, on the flip side, any frustrations that you have with the product? Anything that you think we could do better, or any features that you would like to see implemented at all?
I have to be honest and say no. I find the site is really easy to navigate. It's really useful. You contact, I mean, there's at least once a week, I think, I must get something from Broadcast Intelligence, which is useful. Your reports are regular. I think you're doing a really good job.
That's very lovely to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably like a perfect way to wrap us up.
Wow, we love hearing that we are worth it.
Yeah, we are television's L'Oreal because you're worth it. We won't give you shiny hair, but we might help you get a commission.
Yeah. So big thanks to Neil for coming on to chat with us.
Yep. And if you are interested in coming on to the podcast to chat with us, we love speaking with people. So if you want to speak to us, any more information about the Commissioner Index or becoming a member, anything, we're an open inbox, as we say nearly every week. It just sounds like we're really begging for people to talk to us. But drop us a line anytime. We've got info@broadcastintel.com, or you can email me or Heather directly, because we're firstname.lastname@broadcastnow.co.uk.
And we'll be back soon with a lot more. But until then, goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Commissioning Conversations. We'll be releasing new episodes every other week, and you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and at broadcastintel.com.